Hi there, I'm Tom, and I have a few suggestions to think about when you're shooting a 360-degree video. The best way to learn from this experience and watching this video is with a head-mounted display, like cardboard. Go ahead and go get yours.
It really depends of what story you're trying to say, but normally the camera level, it will be around whatever humans are around. If they are standing up or they are sitting down, normally the camera level would be at their eye level. And if we have a very high person, you don't want to put the camera that high either. It would be like I would say the average of a person that is like 5'4". It's always nice to have an average height that is not making us feel like giants or, you know, the opposite. So yeah, if you are sitting down, the same eye level of the person you are looking at, and as well, like you want to give a personal space, and that's why I would like you to see it in the Google Cardboard, because everything looks, all the background looks farther away than it is when you are editing, but when you see it on the camera, it looks more like in reality. But at the same time, would you think it's a normal distance in VR, like it would be with another person? In VR, you might need to take a little bit more back, because everything is gonna be, because it's a fish eye, so everything you're gonna see this person talking to you, and it's gonna look like this person is literally touching your nose. So it's very uncomfortable in VR, because as well it looks giant. It looks like a giant person is talking in front of your face. You feel like, or you feel like a little kid. So yeah, very important. The eye level, personal space, and not getting too close. And the stitch line, we talked about this the other day when I show you those circles that it has the stitch lines and how to be between the stitch lines and not in it. But here in this video, you can see the effect that it does. So as you get closer, you can see that his body is more or less stitched, but his face is like halfway. And this is with all cameras. This is with like GoPros, where the distance between the camera is very big. If he does this with an Insta360 that it has, like, I have it here today, the distance is this, like literally there's no distance between one lens or the other. So it's like you can literally go like this close and the camera almost will stitch your face perfectly, which is amazing. This is like we weren't able to do this for like 3.5 years. So, you know, this is what it will happen. And even this guy, he was here, he was very far. Nowadays, with something like Insta360 or even the professional ones, they will be able to do a better stitch than this. But you still don't want to risk it, because when you have somebody moving between stitch lines, like the software that is trying to stitch is trying to calculate all the time one camera and the other and the movement of the person. And, you know, sometimes it kind of calculate the pixels when something moves too fast. So you will always have artifacts and issues. So the best thing is always to, I mean, you are doing a documentary and you put the camera in the middle of the street, you're not going to be able to do that. You will have to know that you will have some stitch errors you won't be able to deal with. Or if there is a lot of money in the production, there will be a lot of work in post-production to do, a lot of money to spend. But sometimes there's nothing else you can do. But if it's in a controlled environment, you really want to control it, because it will save you a lot of headaches. The movements. So this is what we talk about, the motion sickness that we already talked about. So when the camera is moving and we are not moving, we don't have a body, it's like, yeah, we're used to it, to see moving scenes in television, but it's not the same that when we're wearing a headset and we don't see our body, but our brain feels that like it's moving. So the movements have to be slow and smooth. You cannot, like all this video that they put like in a what's called the roller coaster and all this, that is crazy, like for the brain, especially, you know, if you are not in the moving with it. That's why it needs to be slow, smooth, and stabilized. And it's very important, the horizon, like the stabilization. The problem of the movement is like the horizon shifts. So the problem is not the horizon. Like we can see that in movies and we don't get sick, but when we have it in our 360 space, it's like they were shaking our whole world. It's like being in a roller coaster without being in the roller coaster. The brain is in a roller coaster, but your body is not. So it's very confusing. And the rotation, and by the rotation, it means to, like, if you are traveling or moving the camera, it doesn't make any sense that you rotate it. There's no need to do this with the camera because you're already seeing everything. And we are leaving the rotation to the viewer. The viewer is the one who has the control of the rotation. If we rotate the camera, first of all, it's like somebody's rotating our whole world, and that will give us motion sickness. And second of all, we are taking the only power that we give to the viewer, we are taking it away. So it's very important that we don't rotate the camera while we are shooting. If we want to rotate it on purpose, we can do that in post-production after. We cannot forget that we record everything in 360. Okay, so this is the other video, and I add more things in here. So there are several things that affects the directing in 360, and that they are very important. One is the space, and the other one is the plot. So the space of the plot is kind of like what it makes. The plot is normally more important. We have to think about it differently into the videos, but I'll tell you about it right now. So the space, sometimes we have to make the space a part of the story in the way that they are things that they have to indicate us or give us a part of the story without anything else. And we can do this with, like it says here, sensory details, ideas, behaviors, or narrative potential. The narrative potential, what I mean with this is, imagine you get into this kitchen. It's an empty kitchen, but you see these vegetables and the fire is on and nobody's here. And you are observing this for like a minute. It's like, you know what is gonna happen if nobody comes here. You know, it's like, it's giving you like a situation. Something is gonna burn if nobody comes and takes action of it. So it's like already giving you like a story without nothing happening just because of the space. So it's very important that we control everything we have in the scene. Obviously, I'm talking about when we are creating a story that is not a documentary or things like that. Like we can control the environment. So the things that they are far, they are not gonna be noticeable. Like we're gonna have like something like it's very important to have for the story pictures of the family. They will have to be right here. Like if we are sitting down on the sofa and there's a table right here, they will have to be right there. Don't think about putting something in the sofa that is in front or in the wall that is in front unless it's very big, because you won't see it. It doesn't have so much definition. There's no way to zoom. There's no way to show, you know, you will be able to show, put some lights and be able to see a little bit more, but the definition in the background gets lost. So yeah, always have to plan the placement of the objects and the camera and the action in the pre-production, like thinking about what is important for the story and what it can be placed to be able to see, and what it can bring to the script, what it can bring to the story without saying anything. So the other one that I was saying, the space and embodiment are basically the two main factors that affect the story, how we embody the person, how the perspective that we have. And I'll tell you about it in one of these slides. So yeah, we cannot control what the, like we commented already, we cannot control what the viewers see. So we cannot have a lot of actions around. We need to control exactly, we want them not to miss a part. We need to be able to think about how to present that action so they don't miss it. How to direct the whole action so they look in that direction that we want, because we cannot control whether if they will miss it or not. You cannot, like you say, we cannot steer and manipulate attention in the same way that we can do it in the regular 2D. As well, VR is not good for long conversations. Like, so it's like you can have, obviously we need dialogues and we need some audio cues and things like that, but it's not something like you cannot expect somebody to be there like 15 minutes following a conversation between two people, because they will start getting distracted. You know, they will see that the action is not going anywhere, and then they will start looking at the room and, you know, getting other details. which sometimes is nice, but you cannot overdo it. So we have to see the viewer as a visitor in our video, not as a viewer. So it's like a person that it somehow is taking place in the story. And remembering that they can look around, but they have some limitation. So we have to use the freedom that they have for the story, but at the same time, all those limitations that they have that they cannot move into the space, we have to try to deal with those limitations and reduce them the maximum that we can. So one of the questions, or like, you know, like the viewer does to itself when they get to this video, and this question is really nice, really good, because as well help us to think about when we want to do a video in 360, if it makes sense to make it in 360. Sometimes it doesn't make any sense to make a video in 360 for some purposes. So, you know, it's like when you get into this scene in the space, you start wondering, it's like, why I'm here and what should I do? It's like, I mean, in this kind of video, obviously you cannot do anything, but we can do sometimes some kind of a scene where we're making a participant, the viewer, somehow, like, you know, like telling a story or talking to the viewer in a way that we make the person participate. I mean, we have some story that they can be interactive and they can choose your own story and things like that, but this is not the case of what we are talking. So we're trying to give them an experience, and the experience is sometimes not just simple watch. Sometimes we want them to be a part of our secrets, or, you know, or you know, we want to host them and direct them and show them a space or a situation that is happening. So we are trying to make them feel things. We are trying to make them feel that they are in another space, in another situation that they never will leave, that they are another person that they are not. And so, yeah, we're trying to make them feel and learn other things, other situations, other experiences. And yes, you don't necessarily have to give them a body. You have to just give them a perspective, which sometimes can be a third person perspective. Let me see over here. So these are some of the solution of these challenges that we're talking about. There are other things that we're going to talk over here with the cues and the point of view, which are the most important. I think this page over here, you will have to come back to it. This is the most important thing that you need to learn for any part of directing a video. So these are some solutions. So what happened is, like, if you want the person to look in one direction. So, sorry, give me a second. You can make that if there are several people in the room, or there is several action is happening, suddenly everybody stops or everybody's looking in one direction. If you see 4 people around you start looking or pointing somewhere else, you're gonna look there. Or everybody start looking at the ceiling, you're gonna look at the ceiling. You're just wondering what everybody's doing or what are they looking at. The other way is to lead or to host, like the person, by having a host that he can. All right, hold on. Well, this is kind of like, sorry, this is more like reducing the field of view that you give them. I don't really this is an option that some people does, but I don't particularly like it, because the reason I'm making a 360 is to use the 360. There is a way of doing everything, but there is people who just like to keep all the action happening basically in front of you, because there's a lot of people who, if they are sitting down watching everything, they won't completely turn around to see the action. Even if a person is walking around, they won't turn around and look behind them. You have to know what is your client, what is your the output of this. You need to know the purpose of this. If it's gonna go to YouTube, if it's on YouTube, it's not gonna be a problem. People can, rotate with their finger or the mouse. They're a little bit less lazy. When they have the goggles, if they're sitting down in a chair, even if it's a a wheelchair that it turns around, it's still a little bit lazy. So it has to be something very specific and heavy on the action to make somebody turn around. But I do think the purpose of 360 is having 360. So in my opinion, the most of the cases I will try not getting crazy, but I will try to use the whole 360. The camera movement will help the viewer look in that direction. Sometimes when we have a camera movement, basically naturally we look forward. So it's very weird when we look backward because it looks like we are moving backwards, and there is always kind of like give us more motion sickness. So that's another way of directing the people where they want to look, towards the direction that the camera is moving. The point of interest, the person that you are looking at is, if we have a person that is talking to you or to people that they're having a conversation, whatever action is happening, and we are looking at that moment, the viewer is looking at that action, and we make a cut, and the next scene, the action, whatever it is, suddenly is in the back, that is disoriented. Doesn't matter if the space is the same, is disorienting. I mean, if the space and the camera placement is exactly the same, you shouldn't do that, because it's like somebody's rotating your whole space. But at the same time, sometimes it works. Sometimes it works because it's giving you kind of like the feeling of regular video cuts, where you don't miss the scene. So it's like you have two people here, and see, but it's the same scene, and the two people are behind in the same space, and you just make a cut and place them in front of you. You don't get so disoriented for the space because you are focused on the action. And if you make the cut and you leave these people that they are in the back, then the second action is in the back, but the space hasn't changed, then you start like wondering, suddenly it was an action here and suddenly has disappeared, and you have to start looking for it because, you know, they disappear. So these are kind of things that you have to think about it. And again, you have all kind of perspectives in this. You have directors. I had clients who they just wanted to keep the action in the front, and the most of the time it was easy to do. But we have, for example, this video that you see over here, I will show you one day, is this guy who's one of the NBA players, and he started playing, you know, he started from one side of the how you call the place where you play basketball? Somebody? Court?
Yeah.
The court? Okay. So you're he's on one side of the court, and he comes running, and you know, and put it in the basket, which I know is not the word. But you know, like put the ball in, and suddenly it's like we were looking back because he's starting, but he's passing the camera and he's going to the back to, you know, put the ball in. But if people don't move, they're gonna be looking still at where he started. So you don't want to miss the action, and the next shot is him, you know, doing the dunk. It's like you really have to cut and rotate the court and put it to don't miss the dunk into it, because people won't see anything. They just see the guy starting with the ball all the time, and they will miss all the time the guy, you know, putting the ball in. So this one, for example, it was very complicated because it was very fast, and you know, a lot of these cuts, and they did it in a way that if you leave the camera static in one place, you literally don't miss any of the action. You won't have to move. So it's a different perspectives. Like sometimes people don't want to move from the action. They want all the action to happen in here, and they do that in the shooting. But sometimes the other way of doing it is in the cutting, by rotating the scene, because the problem as well of VR is like the shots we cannot cut them so fast as we cut them in 2D. They have to be like at least 7-8 seconds long, because if not, we will be like, it's like they are swapping our background completely or world every 2 seconds. That is very confusing. So we need always a couple of seconds to situate ourselves in the space. That's why the shots are always longer in VR. This is one of the examples. I don't know, maybe now is a good moment to show you this video. Make sure you don't do that. Yeah, this one. Okay. So in theory, I mean, this is gonna be bouncy. But you're gonna see that all the when he start like throwing things on the court and things like that, you're not gonna miss basically anything. Let's see here. Okay. So yeah, we follow him. But you say I went, I'm gonna put this again. I went, sometimes they put arrows, but this cat, he is starting, hold on, let me stop it. So I was in here. Let me start again. So we start here, where is the back of the court, and we're gonna follow him over here, where he's gonna jump, and then the cat, which the next cat, which he is starting again in here, it will be rotated to this point. So you will see. So it's like we reset it and we came back again to the back of the court, and he's doing it again. So if you follow the ball, the action will stay normally in. I mean, these some of this part here we had to edit them as the client wanted, and they weren't right. But sometimes the client wants what he wants. But the most of this is like this. If you follow the ball, you will be able to see what is happening next in here. So okay, you're following him. And normally you are able to detect where is him after the shot. You see? So it's always having, in this case, it was very complicated, but it's always having a reference or where the action is happening. At least that you have it in the corner where you end up the other shot. Obviously, if you don't move at all, it's kind of complicated. But in this case, they wanted to follow the action. I don't know if it's too jumpy or you are able to see what I'm talking about. It's like whatever I leave him, I will be able to see him in the next shot. Okay. You understand what I mean with this video? Okay. So the point of view was that. I mean, that is really depends. It's a very personal thing, and it really depends on the story. Like I have stories where I use this technique, and I have stories where I didn't. So that's the good thing. The good thing is to know what are the options that you have and how to use them. And sometimes you have to make them and you have to show into other people, because when you are editing, you know where the action is. You know exactly where the points are. But sometimes you need. There is a website called, forgot the name now. I have to look it. But it's basically a YouTube for 360 video. And you can upload the video and like as a test and give it to a few people, and they will give you hot zones. Do you know what hot zones are for websites? So the hot zones, they were kind of like invented for websites, and basically will tell you, in a website, it will tell you where people spend the longest time, where they click the most. You will actually see colors like red, orange, and blue and green, where are the people that are spending the most of the time or where they click. So this is the same. It's like, so you will see while the video is playing this hot spot. So you think that your action is happening in this area, but the people end up, all the red areas, and in the back, your edit is not right, because most of the people is not watching what you wanted to watch. So this is a resource to be able to try it. I mean, it's faster just to give it to somebody and ask and I have the questions, but this is another option to do it, another way of doing it. Another way would be like with lighting and color and sound. So these are, I'm gonna explain you a little bit more of this after, but basically it's like, just imagine that you have a light, a spotlight, and the rest it gets dark and one area gets illuminated. That's another way of cueing. Or color by desaturating more one area and having more vivid colors in another. That will always, as well, it would be a cue that will make you look there. And obviously the sound. When we have like ambient sound, ambisonic sound, 360 sound, basically, you can hear where the sound is coming from. So sometimes, you know, you can be looking here, but sometimes, but you hear the voice coming from the back. So you will be able to turn around because you know where the action is happening. So here is this, the main actors. I just say some of them, but here you have them more like, so the guiding cues that sometimes can be people, sometimes can be those arrows that we saw, and sometimes can be graphics as well. And this is kind of like what replace the zooms and the cuts and like in the regular, what it would be the regular video. The audio cues, what I just said already, with the sound elements around, or people talking, coming from a particular sounds coming from a particular direction. The visual cues that we talk as well, like an actor showing interest in the direction we want the viewers to look, the host making you looking here or there, which at the same time will be a point of interest, which is the next thing that we're talking about. Which one we talk about, like the color and the light is would be as well some of them that like I just say the color and the light. They are not very common to use, but they are options. I mean, you probably can invent as many as you want. Like visual cues can be as well the same way as guiding cues can be like any graphics. There is nothing else is happening, but there is a little animation happening in front of you. Obviously, you're gonna look there. So anything you can invent that is visual, like the movement of the camera, that's another visual cue. And the point of view, the point of interest, sorry, the point of interest obviously is what attracts the attention. So we use the cue to attract the attention, but we attract it to a point of interest, which sometimes it can be an actor, sometimes it can be just a space, but we are moving the camera, the lighting and the colors that we just talked about, the text and the graphic overlays, and the other one that I didn't say, that voice over narration, which somebody can say, you look here or look there or look behind, or now what this is happening on your right. Yeah, so that's another option. Any questions? The embodiment. So this is kind of like the first part. This is a little bit of what we talk about, the first person and the third person, like the perspectives. As well, we have people who agreed in doing it one way and people who don't like to do it that way. But this is still in a process of growing. There's a lot of experimenting. So, you know, everything, something that it doesn't work normally can work it depends on your story. So the first person is when you are part of the story somehow. The actor talks to you or the action is happening around you, but includes you somehow. Like over here, like you have these two samples over here, which are very limited, and it will be in a very specific situation or storylines, like you are a kidnap, you know, so you cannot move. So you look down and you see a body, so you kind of like identify yourself, but at the same time you cannot move. So it kind of matches with what is happening, you know, like the observer situation. The one in a wheelchair, this is what an observer is considered a passenger here because they are moving you in a chair, so you are like kind of like traveling through the action and the space. But these other ones, like the one that they are showing you an action, like suddenly, oh, you are suddenly a chef and you're cooking, very weird for your brain. When you put that and you look down and you see your body, first of all, it takes a little bit until you see a body that is not yours. So it doesn't make you feel immersed unless you have a control over that body. Like I explained you guys the other day, this video that I was, this company that I was working with, the Alzheimer and all this, that you actually are in a video, but when you look down, you see hands that they move exactly how your hands and your finger, but they are from an older person. That it really makes you feel like you are that body. But if you cannot control the movements, I don't recommend it. It's really weird. And as well, normally with this kind of actions, like you don't have a head. I don't know if you can see here like a little blur thing. So it's like, as well, you are in a video and you can turn around completely. So if you turn around and look down, you are seeing the chest of the person recorded. So it's kind of weird. So you look down, you can see like that part of the body, but you can completely turn around. It's like, who is able to turn around their neck 360 degrees and not move their body? It's very weird and distracting. So for me, it's not an option. There is people who use it, but for me, it's something that I never like. It distracts me a lot. So the other option that some people do is just, this is the one that I most used, and then most of the companies or people I work with use, which is putting a chair or a space where you understand that you are sitting down there. It's like, yeah, it's weird to see probably an empty chair, but you understand that your body is occupying that space and you are interacting with the other person that way. Other people, they just put this black hole or they blur the whole bottom if they don't want at all to get distracted. But I don't know, maybe because I'm so specialized in make everything like so perfect and being integrated, for me the black hole is really distracting. Yeah, basically these are the options for the first person. You can have like a person guiding you in a way of talking to you about things that are happening in the story, like telling you a secret or telling you like or bringing you to the situation by telling you what is happening or what happened in the past or what is going to happen by the dialogue. Offering you a drink. Sometimes it's weird when they are offering you actions that you can like want to react but you can't. So you have to control a little bit as well how far do you get there. The third person observer is kind of like the fly in the wall. Some people say it's kind of like it gives you like a ghost effect. Novina, Novia está. Sorry, Novia.
Sorry, my computer just...
It's okay. I hope you weren't waiting too much. I didn't realize. So the fly in the wall. So I particularly don't feel that it's that bad. Like there is people who don't like it at all and they have this feeling that you're a ghost. So they describe it as being a ghost in a space. But sometimes it's nice to be a fly in the wall. Sometimes it's nice not to be involved in the story and just being able to, like, you're looking through a little hole, but you are actually in the space. Sometimes we would like to do that in our real life. No? Nobody has that experience. So yeah, this is a very personal thing. So you will have to experiment to see what it goes with you, what you like.